Hi, and welcome back to Chasing Brighter. I'm Jessica here with my co-host and sister, Kelly.
Hello.
And in the effort of us trying to be real, we did not pay attention that there were 5 Thursdays in April. And so we are just whipping up a little episode for you. And so what we thought would be so much fun, we've really been pushing our April free download when you sign up for the newsletter. And it is titled, Are You Living Your Values or Someone Else's? And so Kelly and I wanted to go through the 2-part questionnaire and work it through with you because we think it's fun, because this week we've been talking about energy. This month we've been talking about energy and capacity, and it's like, are we doing things that are aligned with our values, or are we doing things just to perform because we think that's what we should be doing? So let's get into it, Kelly.
Yes. Yeah. So in the newsletter, what we have is the first question, which is...
So part 1 is like a values clarification.
And so, again, if you even want to do these along or just even hit pause as you're listening to our episode and fill these out for yourself, that will be great. All right. So the first one, write 5 things down that you feel like are core parts of your identity. Was this easy for you, Jess?
Yes, because of the legend planner. No, for you. Okay. You want to smack me through this?
Okay.
Yeah. So, writing 5 things that feel like core parts of my identity. I love the legend planner, and because I carry it with me every single day and use it all the time for scheduling, and I talk to clients about it all the time, right? And so I love to think about our lives like little slices of pie. And so for me, I put the 5 things for me are health, and then kind of like being a mom / being a member of my family. I put a part of my identity as being a worker bee, having fun, and friendship. Those are my 5. Kind of aligns with our core values, I feel like, on Chasing Brighter.
Well, look at
What do you have?
I struggle with like defining who I am as a person, like what makes me different versus my values, because there are like things I like, which are part of my identity, but my values are like what's important to me, which sometimes is the same thing and sometimes different. So like that's where I was kind of like struggling with how to define these.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have business owner or like entrepreneur,
Nice.
mom of boys, or like parenting.
Yeah.
I have terms of, since I'm thinking about the next couple of questions too, always finding a better way to do things is my value. So whether it's my health and fitness, I'm constantly thinking about that, or how to manage my household, or even from work.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Achiever.
Okay.
Is a value that I struggle with, but yes.
Yeah.
So how many was that?
Was that 4? Am I crazy?
I'm sorry. The last one was like, what did I say? Parent, business owner, also
Achiever, analyst, or whatever.
Creator.
Oh, okay.
Just with our podcasting stuff. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And then I love the next question. For each of these, ask, is this genuinely mine, or is this who someone else needs me to be? So mark M for mine or P for performing. So I have for health is me. Mom and family, I put mine and performing. For my worker B, I put performing, and then in quotations, I put dysfunctional, because that's the same as your achiever. I'm thinking about overachieving and achieving. So I know that's a dysfunctional part of me. So I just put that I'm dysfunctional. And for fun, I put is totally me. And I put for friendship, I put me, but also there's a little bit of performing in there.
So for thoughtful parent, I put that as me. The business owner, I put everything as basically kind of me, except the achiever part, which I think is really about performing.
Yeah.
For others. Yeah. It's interesting to sort of put this in this way, right? Because I feel like, that there's this pressure that creeps in for me.
Yeah.
To sort of idealize things, which is a lot of what we talk about at Tasting Brighter,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah. And then the third question is, which of your values lights you up when you live it and which one feels like weight? And I put in mine, like, obviously family can be weighty because there's so much, we've been talking the entire month of April about how this can really be depleting. So for me, I feel like that's the one that feels like weight and the most out of my 5. Just leaving
yeah,
it like
so
that.
I think about, I kind of like break these up a little bit more, Jess. I agree with you. And I think that's kind of what you did, which is like something that lights me up from a parenting perspective or even just being a member of a family is like really spending moments together with my family, especially sharing a laugh or sharing a dinner is always like really something that lights me up.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side of that, being a thoughtful parent is like I carry a lot of the emotions of my kids, and that becomes really weighty for me.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
definitely one of the challenges I have.
Yeah.
I love diving into new work. That's a lot of fun. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
part of, when I talk about being a creator, whether it's our
Yeah.
podcast work, even some of my work, or even our vacation rental that we're doing, those things really light me up. I think something that gets really weighty for me because I'm an achiever is I can sometimes feel overscheduled
Mm-hmm.
or maybe even feel like I'm not doing enough, which
Yeah.
gets weighty.
We're on
4,
question
sorry. Yeah.
4. What would you do differently this week if you stopped performing and started living? Well, I talked about this already, but I just read for 5 hours. So I sat outside reading and I completed a book over the weekend. When you follow your joy, like I wanted to go for a hike. And so we all dropped Dominic off at confirmation and there's a trail over there and we all went, and Gio went on a scooter and we all went like for a walk.
I love
And
that.
so I think for me, that looks like just having more fun and like getting out of the house and my routine and having more fun with things.
100%. I think getting out of the house is definitely something that I need to do more. If I look at my day and then it's like, what have I done? I'm just sitting at my computer. I don't really feel like I'm truly doing some productive work sometimes.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I really am doing differently this week, and I frankly feel pretty good about it, is I'm just trying to be with my kids. Right? Thinking, again, this is the achiever part. It's almost like an achiever parenting part that I feel sometimes. So instead of managing their lives, I'm really working on just sort of being with them and not making them feel like they have things that they need to be doing. Because sometimes I feel like I focus too much on that. And so that's a huge shift in my parenting. I'm actually like probably 3 weeks in. I've really been sitting with that one a lot. So
It's funny. One of the things I'm trying, I don't know. I went to watch Gabby's game, and on the way home, I had this book, and there was like 20 minutes left of the book. And I usually let Gio, like, we listen to a book together. We're listening to the Genius Files. It's Dan Gutman books. If you want to listen to some fun books with your children, or we listen to his playlist. And he was like requesting, as you know, YouTube time in the car, and I was like, buddy, you can look out a window. And he was like, I'm not requesting, I'm not going to let you don't need to be on a screen right now. And he was like, well, can I do my playlist? I'm like, no. Well, can I listen to my book? I'm like, I want to listen to my book. Gabby's game was really like a hard loss for me. And I just want to listen to my book and you can look out the window. And then he was like, well, why was it a hard loss? He was asking 400 questions. But then I was like, you talk about intentional parenting. It's like, that does not mean that I have to do everything for you and be available for you every waking moment. And it was like setting a boundary of like, I'm going to listen to my book and you can look out the window. I don't know if that's anything you're talking about or not. But
no, I think yeah. It's about
just kind of saying no
doing stuff
and doing something for yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
But being present with them.
Being like putting yourself first.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a moment. There's certainly a lot that you do for your kids anyway.
And I think that, sorry, you still on question 4?
No, I was going to move on too.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think that goes with question 5 of like,
yes.
What is one thing you keep saying yes to that a more aligned version of you would say no? So that's an example of me saying no.
Yeah. For me, I definitely that example in a previous episode, we're talking about like both of my kids, I will drop everything. I tend to drop everything and help them if they need it, if they need picked up or something else.
Right.
And I really need to be, I need to say no more to those things because they can figure it out themselves.
Yeah. We also, how long do we sit on curbs? We were sitting on the curbs waiting for
we're
people.
the last
and we didn't have a phone.
people. We had to make the pay phone calls.
Yes.
We were like,
janitor, let us back in.
Yes.
To get the pay phone.
Well, we would be like with the janitor's daughter. That was remember her?
Colorado?
No, at Trinity. Were you ever, maybe it was just me.
I don't know.
But
we
anyway,
had to wait.
We were like the last 2 or 3 kids.
Send a smoke signal and hope someone came to get us.
So I think that there's something about that, saying no to that. The other thing is, I think work-wise for me, there's maybe some things that I need to just be more intentional of like not spending time doing that I'm spending time doing. Just figure out how where we invest our energy, right?
Yeah.
And where we get more out of it.
When I say friendship can be, and maybe that's also like socializing, can be performance, is like, let's say for like the kids' sports, like I tease Justin, but Justin's all up in it for Dominic's baseball, and he talks to the parents and he sits up with the parents, and I came to the game and he was like waving to me to come sit by him, and I was like giving him this dirty look of like, you want me to sit on your lap? And he was like, they're going to move over for you. And it was like, I don't want to be my face. I don't want my face pressed up against the fence behind home plate. I want to sit with my hoodie up in the corner over there on the bleachers or whatever, And so it's like, I've been sitting differently where he sits, and we talk about it. And I love him so much. He's an incredibly involved father, and that's so great. But like, that's not my vibe. So I sit on the back. And so that's me, right? Like old Jessica would have performed. I would have sat, I wouldn't have listened to my needs, and I would have been drained because I'm coming from work, which is very emotionally draining, and then sit with people that I don't know that well and make small talk the entire game, right? Or I can sit up on the bleachers by myself, have one AirPod in, listen to my Audible book, and, look up when my son's at bat. And otherwise, or like I have snacks with Gio or help him with his homework, or like, just other things. The other thing is I'm working, and this is going to go into part 2, but I'm working on the no. But for friendship right now, I'm avoiding. So instead of saying yes, I think the next step would be no, but I'm like in the middle. I'm at the mezzanine, like I'm avoiding. So I'm hearing myself. I know what I need. I'm not saying yes. Anyway, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, Jess. You're getting there slowly but surely.
Yes.
Your foot's not fully out the door though. You're kind of like partly there.
I love an audit. And it's like step 1 is always acknowledgement or just listening to yourself. And so it's like, I hear myself, I hear you voice, there's something called motivational interviewing. It's a type of intervention. It was created to help people who are in addiction, to get them to recognize that they need help. And so there's this thing called, it's like denial. One step is denial. Then it's pre-contemplation. Then it's contemplation. Then it's, like planning for change and implementing change. And so I love the pre-contemplation. Like it's like, like maybe
you're
someone's
thinking about it, like thinking about
I don't have an
smoking.
issue, but I miss work once a month because I'm hungover, right, for addiction or whatever. And then contemplation is like, yeah, no, I have a problem. So it's like I'm in I'm the pre part of it. So anyway, so if we go to look, part 2 is like 5 tips for living more aligned. And so that's what I was just saying is like clarity is that first step. So here's how we actually like implement it. So number 1 is start with one small no. You don't have to overhaul your life. Find one thing this week that doesn't align with your real values and practice saying no or not yet. So one
it's about building muscle memory.
Yeah.
You kind of learn to say no. I love that one.
Yes.
Our second tip is to make your values visible. Write them, your top 3 somewhere you can actually see them. Put them on your lock screen, on a sticky note,
Make
your
a
journal.
cute little visual on Canva. and then put it on your lock screen so you see it every time. I like that.
You can use that to see how it regularly shapes your decisioning.
Yeah. And so like I said, we have the legend planner, and that's where I see it, right? Because the beginning of the legend planner that we have, it says on there, like, what are the most important things in your life? And then it goes through quarterly, monthly, weekly. And so that's always kind of front of mind for me too. Number 3, use the values filter before you commit. So before you say yes to something new, pause and ask, does this align with what actually matters to me right now? And you don't have to say it out loud, but just like think about it and ask it internally first before you commit to something.
I think that's a great one. Number 4 is notice the difference between guilt and misalignment. So guilt says you broke someone else's rules, while misalignment says you broke your own. So you learn to tell the difference.
Love that.
Because one is worth listening to and one's not. And so you don't really want to have yourself get bogged down with feeling a lot of guilt, which I definitely have a lot of.
Yeah, it's those shoulds, that performance that we've been talking about. And finally, give yourself permission to change your values. Who you were 5 years ago was different, right? And that's okay. Your values can evolve. The goal isn't consistency. It's honesty about where you actually are right now. And just remember, you are worthy of a life that actually fits. And this guide is just a starting point, not a to-do list, and really be gentle with yourself.
All of this and true alignment, real alignment, it's slow to build, and it's about making choices over time. Jess and I talk a lot about micro moments. It's starting that small piece and building from there. And you know what? If you've listened to this full episode, you're already doing it. So thank you for joining us today. We hope you really enjoyed this discussion. If you would like to sign up for our newsletter to see this one, as well as get our future guides and tips and tricks, sign up for our newsletter at chasingbrighter.com/newsletter.
And if you are listening to this and it's past April and you still want this download, DM us. Find us on our socials at Chasing Brighter, and we have no problem sending that guide over to you.
Thanks for joining us today.